Okay, it's 11:59. Oh, just said it went live, 11:59. And I know I'll have a few people coming on. What do you think, Captain Jack? We'll get started here right at the top of the hour. And that's it. So I'll go 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Dan Weedin. Welcome to the June 2nd edition of Weedin Unleashed. Now, I'm joined by Captain Jack. I don't know if he's going to be making much noise today, but it's a beautiful day outside. The birds are chirping. I've left the shutters closed, or the drapes closed, because he might be wanting to bark at the sun, so I'm hoping he'll behave himself today, and we welcome you. This is going to be an interesting edition of Weedin Unleashed. I visited the dentist this morning, and as of right now, the left side of my mouth is still under the influence of Novocaine. I didn't think about it when the appointment was changed this time. I guess I didn't put two and two together, knowing that was going to happen. I'm getting a crown put on later on, and I was hoping that this would be gone by now, but it's not. So bear with me if I seem to be slurring my words a little bit. It has everything to do with about an hour and 15 minutes spent in the in the dentist chair today, laying vertical, or actually below vertical, and having Novocaine pumped in my mouth. So my apologies for that. I know we're going to have a few people joining us today, and I'm looking forward to that. Today's topic is from my extra points, as it always is, and this was kind of a special one. I kind of thought of it really late, didn't write it till yesterday, which is not necessarily unique, but I had another plan to do something different. But it was interesting. Last Thursday on Facebook, I participate in what's called Throwback Thursday. And so I put a photo of me out there that I ran across recently. I've got a picture of me in 9th grade on my basketball team, and I've got a team picture of my team as well. And the unique thing about that team is that we went 12-0 undefeated. So for us, that was kind of a cool thing, and I still remember those days and that year in particular very fondly. I am still in contact with my coach, and I'm still in contact out of the 15 guys there, 14 who are in the picture. I'm still in contact with most of them, and so it's kind of a fun deal. So I put it up there, and the response was kind of fun. I got a lot of response, a lot of likes, a lot of hits, a lot of comments. Some good-natured jabbing over the short shorts and the long hair and all of that. But there was some interesting dialogue that went with it, and that was the purpose of my topic. The dialogue revolved around a couple of our players, one in particular, a player by the name of Mark, I'll just use his first name, that was really, in my mind, the best high school basketball player I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of basketball. I coached high school girls, so I got a lot of chance to watch a lot of boys basketball as well. And this cat was the best I'd ever seen and ever played with, for sure. He went on to have a really good college career, and had a shot at the NBA, didn't make it, but at a high school level, he was the tops. And in junior high, you can imagine he stood out. And so there were some conversations a little bit back and forth between me and some of the others, remembering how good he was, and maybe being the catalyst for our undefeated season. Well, it so happens that Mark and I are friends on Facebook, and he took in on the conversation. He said something that I thought was really, really interesting, and at least it resonated with me. Because I made a comment about how great he was, and he said, Dan, he goes, just remember, it took 14 of us to go undefeated. And that's all he wrote. He said it took 14 of us to go undefeated. Now I'm going to tell you, Mark's a great guy, and he was back then. And if you think about a situation where the team's best player believes that it's not just about him, or that he's the cat's meow, or the rock star, he wasn't a diva. He was all about the team, and knowing that it took all 14, and we actually had 15 on the team, took all of us to go undefeated, because every practice we challenged each other. We had other people who stepped up when needed. And so we had a great coach who helped us through all the ups and downs and worked hard at it. And so it really caught my attention. And it made me think about teams in general. One other quick story that goes alongside of that maybe actually added to it. It was the other day I was listening to a radio interview with Doug Baldwin. Doug Baldwin is a wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks, and this was on the sports talk show. Doug Baldwin has just received a new contract, and so they were interviewing him, and the interviewer asked him, said, Doug, you know, in the few years you've been here, 3 years you've been here, look back and tell me what your biggest, other than the Super Bowl, what really, when you look back at memories, what's it for you? And so he paused, and I'm thinking he's going to think of a certain play or a certain touchdown or something that happened. And his response is that when his roommate, a wide receiver doesn't play that much, his roommate caught his first touchdown pass. That was a highlight for him. And I thought, here's a guy who had every opportunity to talk about himself. He talked about a teammate, very similar to my teammate, Mark. So what's all this mean for you? Well, sports is, as all of you who know me well, I love to use sports as a metaphor for business and for life. And this is a great metaphor for our business and our life. And it's about team. You know, Patricia Fripp has always said that you can't be brilliant by yourself, and I'm a believer in that. You can't go undefeated by yourself, and you can't have great success without your team. So if you're listening to me today, whether you're here live, I see we've got a few people live, whether you're here live or you're listening later, I want you to think about your specific situation. What teams do you play for? Now I can look at me, and so many, some of you might be like me, and a solo practitioner, consultant, or a speaker, or somebody who works solo, other than Captain Jack sitting back here. The reality is that I have a team. My team involves a web designer, a bookkeeper, people that I do business with that help me out in a whole lot of different areas. I've got my own little team. If you are a business owner that has employees, you definitely have a team. And if you take a look at your team, you know that you have some high performers. You know, they might be in sales, they might be in operations, they might be in a management or executive level, but you have high performers. They're your stars. What is their take on team? Do they put themselves up above high, as I call like a diva? Or are they like Mark and Doug Baldwin, who think about the rest of the team and do their best to make the rest of the players, the rest of their workers, better? You need those players. Everybody knows who the best player on a team is. I mean, let's make no doubt about it. I used to tell the players I coach, look, we all know who the best player is. Everybody can't be the best. It doesn't work that way. Everybody has a specific role, and they can give everything they have in their skill level, and that's all needed. We all know who the stars are. You know who the stars are in your business. They need to be the hardest workers and the one who give back the most. They need to be the most generous. If you don't have that, you've got a problem. Now look, if you are, if you're the rainmaker, if you're the rock star, if you're the star player, you might either be the employer or you might be that person in your organization. Take a hard look at yourself. What image do you portray? What would your fellow workers or your employees say about you? When was the last time you did a little bit of a 360 assessment on yourself? It's easy to get carried away. It's easy to get, somewhat large-headed at times. There are things that happens to all of us, and especially if you have great success. The beauty of it is if you're somebody who can be disciplined enough to know that there's some humility in there, and that you didn't get there by yourself. You have great skills, but you're there to use those skills to help others to move up. So I've been chatting now for about 10 minutes or so, and I see we have a couple of viewers on. So I'm going to throw out to anybody who's out there and listening to me live. I've got this question for you. Number one, I guess I got a question for you, and this is your chance to ask questions as well. My question is, what are examples in your own world that you've seen? You don't have to give names, but what are examples of where you've seen that the star has made the other people better? And what are some examples, perhaps, where that hasn't happened? And can you give some characteristics? So I guess what I'm looking for are some comments on the topic that we're discussing, some questions that you might have for me that I'd be happy to answer. I'll take a look as they come in this little blue and gray sidebar over here, and while you do that, I'll keep talking. So this is your time to ask me questions, or maybe to kind of think about some situations that you are either in or have been in, where you've seen both the really good and the bad. And I would challenge you this. There's no in between. I think this is a polar topic, because mediocre might as well be bad. Your star players, the people in your employ, or the people that you team up with. So for instance, the people I work with, they've got to be able to be selfless and give back. As you see here, I've got my Rotary pin on. Rotary is about service above self. And I think about service above self when I think about guys like Doug Baldwin and my teammate Mark, because their service was above themselves, and they gave their all, knowing that it takes everybody to bring together a great product. And so that was my conversation today. You know, I hope some of you will chime in if you're out there, and you can do so. If you're listening to this later, go ahead and give some thought. Again, I apologize coming from the dentist this morning. I hope you can hear me well enough and it doesn't look too silly, but with the Novocaine in my mouth. But I'm working it out as best as I can. So anyway, one quick note as we keep moving forward. For those of you who follow me, you may have seen on a newsletter going out recently that I've got my first Unleashed Live Summit coming up in September. It's going to be here in the Seattle area. It's a half day, basically a live hangout with me. We're going to talk about a lot of best practices, strategies, discussions, topics, concepts that we're doing like right now, but we're going to do it live. It's going to be a half day event. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's only $99 plus you get a book if you don't have a book already. Well, you get one either way. Go ahead and look that up. You can go to my blog at Weedin360.com, and you'll see the Unleashed Summit. If that's something that you think would be of value and of interest to you, we'd love to have you join. Also have books on sale at the same place. If you go to my blog as well, you can get Captain Jack and I on Unleashed. So I'm going to go back and do some final thoughts here. I haven't seen anybody put any questions up yet, and that's fine. Any comments on this, but I think it's an important topic. I've received several comments already today on it. I believe it's something that we really need to take a look and value. It took somebody. Oh, I saw one pop up. I'll get to it in just a second. Thanks. I think it takes a lot to hear from somebody that you know was the best player and who admits that. I think that we don't hear that enough from the star players that are formed around us, whether they're part of your organization, whether it's you. You know, I think we need to look at this and say this is truly what makes us and puts us over. It's kind of that tipping point that puts us over the top. Dave said, if you recall the Fear the Beard relief pitcher on the San Francisco Giants, I do. It would have been worth paying him to merely sit on the bench. Don't recall his name. I do remember his name. Well, hold on. I say that his first name was Brian. I can't. Oh, Brian Wilson. That's right. Dave just said that. I remember Brian. I was going to think Brian Wilson was a Beach Boys guy, but he was also the pitcher for San Francisco. So it would have been worth paying him to merely sit on the bench. Well, you know what? That happens on teams. We all have different styles, and you know, it's funny. You take a look, as I do it, at football and baseball and basketball teams, and you can see everybody out there, especially at the professional level, has great talent, or else they wouldn't be there. It takes a lot, you know, it takes a unique skill set to get there. But the ones that stay are the people who really, in the end, are the most humble and the ones that make other players better. It was always said of Magic Johnson that the thing about him, and Michael Jordan as well, is they made the guys around them better. And that's what Mark did for us. I know that's what Doug Baldwin does on the Seahawks. And so the concept is can you transfer that to your business? Here's something. You're the business owner. You're the CEO. You're the president. You've got people working for you. When you've identified those high-level, high-performance skill people, take a look at what they're doing. Are there ways that you can help them to flourish even more? Are there things that you can do to give them better leadership skills and abilities, maybe improved communication skills, and find a way to help them even become greater for themselves, but most importantly for the organization? Sometimes they have that in them, but they don't know how to transfer it, and so you can be a big help there. All right, Dave, thanks for chiming in. I don't know if anybody else, I know we have a couple more viewers out there. I also know from hearing from one person once they had problems with the question bar. I apologize for that. I think it's a very important topic. I won't belabor that point. Last chance here to come in and say something, but take this away from you, or take this away from our conversation today. Everybody has star athletes in their organization, even if you are one or two people. The star athletes have to really have the mindset that it takes everybody to succeed, and they have to make the people around them better. Who are your star players? Are they doing that? If they're not, can you help them to get there? If it's you, what can you do to even become better? I promise you, the people who have the mindset of service above self in an organization of any kind, those are the organizations, if you build them up, that's what you want to have. You want to have a team full of people who think that way, of all different diversity, roles, and skill sets and mindsets, but that common goal is still the same. So with that, I don't see anybody else adding on. I will be back next week. We'll do this, we're doing it on an every week basis unless I'm out of town. Next week, June 9th, I will be back here again at noon. Oh, you know what? One other thing I need to throw in there. I mentioned, I apologize about that, that's live broadcasting. I had mentioned on a blog or a post earlier that I was going to talk about books and publishing books. So I want to give just a couple minutes for that. I'm now working on my second published book, my third book overall. It's something that I think is highly important for anybody who's in business to get out and to write a book and to get their intellectual capital, which is up here, manifested into intellectual property, which is a book. There's a lot of credibility that comes with it, but obviously an awful lot of opportunity to help others, to get and reach people who need that help. You have something of great value to give. This is how you make others better. What I will try to do over the course of my blog posts and other things I do is give you some ideas on how to get that moved forward. So I want to touch on that. I ended up talking about team building instead, but I want to get that last portion out. So again, I will be back next week, Wednesday or Monday the 9th, noon Pacific time. We'll be talking again live regarding whatever topic I find of interest for Extra Points. I am very thankful that you joined me here live, for those of you who did, and very thankful for all of you who saw this after the fact on my YouTube channel. That's all for today. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Ciao.